What is going on, you guys? My name is CodyT503 and this is Interesting Podcast. Coming to you guys on January 19th, 2024 for episode 84, where today we actually have the return of a very, very special guest. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Let's get right into this. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute pleasure to bring the return to you guys of Jaiden.
What's going on, y'all?
How you doing, Brian?
Doing pretty good, man. I got the new Super Aces t-shirts available now at shows starting this weekend at Relentless. We're vibing. We're vibing, man.
Oh, that is awesome. All right, man. Well, let's just start out for maybe anybody who maybe doesn't know you. Maybe you can introduce your name, where you're from, and maybe remind them how long you've been in pro wrestling.
Of course, man. My name is Jaiden the Unbelievable. I wrestle mainly in Oregon and Washington State, based out of Portland, Oregon. And I'm actually going on my 11th year in wrestling, believe it or not. I started when I was 13. It's been a grind, and I'm not going to stop grinding until I make it to the top. So, we're out here living dreams and making them come true. So.
That is so awesome. So, what have you actually been up to since the last time that we spoke?
Man, not a whole lot other than doing the shows, running the course. Been playing some Fortnite. Recently got into that. So that's been pretty fun. Me and the lads been going crazy on the Fortnite lately.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've been popping into the school a little bit more too. I'm here now actually. They got class going on in the other room, so
yeah. That is so awesome. So what are you actually doing there at the school at this moment?
Right now, honestly, I kind of pop in when we have more free classes. So that's it really allows me to kind of come in and just focus on what I want to work on and really hone my skills. But it's always fun to help see the next generation of talent coming up and help them out if I can. I don't think I know everything, but if I know enough to help somebody, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely have to get into that a little bit later because I definitely have some questions when it comes to that. But I do want to start out with the Super Aces, and I wanted to know how you felt about going through that whole stint or having that trio. How did you feel it actually came out when you guys were not done, but I apologize.
No, you're good, man. You're good. I'm assuming you're talking about mostly the story of POW, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Or just in general, just the whole story of the Super Races. There you
go. Well, the story of the Super Races is ongoing. It's never going to end, as far as I'm concerned. We're trying to pick up some more trios bookings. So, if anybody's out there that wants to run up some trios matches, man, we're down for it. We have the matching gear. We got the shirts. We're ready to go full force with it. But I felt it was really cool to take something with these kids, and I say kids, they make me though. that's the wrestling brain there. But it was cool for me because I kind of took these kids under my wing a little bit, and in a lot of ways, though, they motivated me to stay around and keep going as well. So to take something that we've done on the vlog and just our personal friendships and to be able to translate that into the actual shows and have it be received just as well. I think it's been fantastic. I think the three of us really mesh as a unit, and we really kind of depend on each other to keep each other afloat.
Yeah. So it's how was it coordinating with both of them and actually being able to be hey, this is what I think we should kind of bring, and then being able to put your input in, and then have other people kind of bounce off of you to make the perfect trio? Like how did that feel, or how were those conversations being a pro wrestler?
Honestly, a lot of what we have come up with, the three of us kind of are in line with our styles in the ring and just what we kind of like to present in general as far as the main goal of each individual match. So it was very easy for us to come up with, like, once one of us came up with an idea, or we all pitched in, was kind of fine tune the idea to get the perfect end result.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So it's like, what was one idea that maybe you brought to the group that you think really stood out?
Um, Honestly, I'm not sure. I can't say there's like one thing specifically that I brought, because I kind of, everything with the three of us has kind of been a collaboration. We all kind of put each other's input, like down to designing the gear and what colors we wanted to go with, and even the street fight gear. Like we knew we weren't going to have time to get the gear made for that show specifically, so we were like, all right, what can we do in the meantime to match and have like kind of bring a different vibe to. So a lot of it really is just us spitting ideas into the group chat and figuring out what we like and what we don't.
Well, I know something that we'll definitely have to get into a little bit, but it'll kind of tie into like what we're talking about right now. Is I saw that you had like almost like a list of people that you want to face in 2024, and you put a Super Aces triple threat. So like, what can we actually like expect from that?
um these matches are kind of just matches that are on the forefront of my mind, and stuff that I either would think would be fun or something that would be challenging for me. Specifically, in terms of the Super Aces triple threat, it's kind of a joke between the three of us that we always make. um, and a lot of it just stems from running, like messing around before the shows and coming up with ideas and stuff like that. But really, I'd entertain the match. I think it'd be fun to throw the three of us in there. We're three young dudes that just all want to go out there and have the best match on every card that we're on. So you put us all three in there together, what's going to happen,
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like I know you had like just kind of brought up about you kind of having like wanting to like do things. And one thing I wanted to ask you about is about like actually about your move set, where it's like I've seen you with like Chris Brady, where it's like like implemented new things into your overall move set, and it's like
Yeah.
how do you think when you're actually going and being like, I want to try this, I want to try this in a show, like how is that as a professional wrestler?
Um, for me, it kind of depends. It kind of varies on the individual, like your mindset on wrestling. For me, I try to take stuff that is one going to make sense in the given situation that I want to apply it to. And also, I have to find openings, obviously, to get these spots off and to hit certain things. It's not something that I can like go in for sure and be like, I know I'm going to go in there and I'm going to give this guy an arm drag off the top rope, or I know I'm going to go in there and I'm going to give this dude a Spanish fly. I kind of need them to be in the situation for me to make that possible. However, though, as far as me coming up with stuff and interpreting it and bringing it into my arsenal, um, there's some things you see, like the Why You Trippin' and the Code Red and stuff like that, that stays in the rotation. But every once in a while, I'll bust out something unique that I saw. Um, and really, a lot of the stuff that I try to keep in mind is like, is it realistic for me to do? Does it fit what I'm doing still? And most importantly, is it going to get me the win? Because that's the goal. Obviously, I'm trying to win these matches and get my status up. So if the move's not
Yeah,
going to get me the win, then I don't see that it's not worth using. You know what I mean? But I
yeah.
also, there's a sense of originality that I like to try to keep. Obviously, there's only so many moves, and it's getting harder and harder to come up with new moves as we add rotations and different spins on things and stuff like that. It's still fun to
Mhm.
attempt though. So I try to take what's out there that may not be being done as prominent as other moves and sequences, and I try to make those my own.
Interesting. Yeah, so like how did you come up with that whole sequence when you were actually facing Chris Brady and you like bounced off of like the top rope and then hit him? Like what? Like how did you come up with that whole move set? Because like I haven't seen that before.
Honestly, that like I watch a lot of Joshi wrestling, and those girls over there, they can do some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen. I often say some of my favorite matches are Joshi matches because there's a certain edge that they bring to the match, certain impact that they have behind their moves. And I really enjoy that kind of style. So I try to implement that in what I do. Seeing stuff like that, it's to me, it's to catch your opponent off guard. Especially Chris, I know he's somebody who likes to go up top and he likes to hit the moonsault. He may or may not have a 450 splash in his arsenal too. I try to avoid those things because they hurt. Especially as somebody, I've been on both ends of these kinds of moves. I know the damage they can do. I know the damage they give out. So I'm not trying to personally get hit with them. So if I can find something that's going to catch him off guard to get him off that top rope, I'm going to use it.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, one thing I wanted to bring up with you was the Defy trampoline park, and I know
Yes.
I had talked about this with Spencer, but did that ever like kind of like help you a little bit as far as like being able to just bounce around and see exactly like what you can do?
Oh, absolutely. I think because there's some stuff that I just can't try like at training or in the ring, like just raw dogging it, for lack of a better term. I gotta have that crowd, like the crowd interaction. I gotta be feeling the adrenaline rushing through my veins in order to pull some of the stuff off. So
Yeah.
going to the trampoline park is a good alternative for me to try out some of these different flips and different twists and see how I can control my body in the air.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I know. During your vlog, you were actually standing up on this podium, and you were kind of like doing like a little battle with like Max Burnside, and you guys were both just trying to knock each other off of the beam. So it's like, how fun
Heck
was
yeah.
that?
That was super fun. I've always seen videos of like places that have those little battle pits and stuff. So when I saw it there, I was like, yeah, we're going. I was like, we're going now. I can be such a little kid sometimes when it comes to trampoline parks and stuff like that.
Yeah. That is so awesome. Well, I know you were just talking about kind of like learning things that maybe you wouldn't normally do. And I had actually seen the clip of you and Nathan Foxx battling each other, and he almost like he went on the outside, and you had to almost like catch him, but it almost looked like really sketchy. Like I didn't know if it was like padded or if there was just cement there, but you guys
Nah,
both
most of the
collided.
places we wrestle, bro, there's no pads on the floor, unfortunately. So
Crazy. Yeah, I
crazy.
was actually like gonna ask like how does it feel to have somebody want to do something like that and maybe have there not be any padding?
Sometimes, man, you just gotta send it. If it's there, like ultimately, the safety does come into question. But if you're confident in your abilities and you trust the guy that you're in there with, you let it fly.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's a really interesting question. So you know how the last time that we had spoke, I had told you about that one wrestler that just went into the ring and just annihilated that dude. Like when you actually like watched that footage, like what was your initial reaction to that?
Man, some people just create their art differently, bro. That's all I can really say on it. Um,
Yeah.
I don't really know what their thought process was or if they had anything behind that, but that's at the end of the day, performers are going to perform how they want to perform. So
Yeah.
I can't really
Yeah.
speak on it as much as I think I would like to because it wasn't really my situation. Like I wasn't the one involved taking the moves or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
so I can't really judge them too much if it was something that they both felt was right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, here's another question that I wanted to bring up to you. So it's like, how does it feel personally to be a big star in the Pacific Northwest? Like Like, what does that mean to you personally?
Um, it's honestly, it's kind of something I'm still adjusting to. Like I still don't see myself quite at that level personally. Um, but I do recognize that I'm, the way there's a terminology that I use all the time, and I think of it like rungs of a ladder. And everybody starts at the bottom and you're climbing your way up. And I feel like I've definitely moved up a couple rungs in the last couple years. It's cool. Like at the same time, like I'm still trying to get my name out. I'm still trying to expand my reach and do what I can do to get out there more. But it's cool to know that like I have a solid fan base at home, and it's cool also to know that I can help other people get opportunities because of that as well.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing I wanted to ask you is because you know how like especially back when like they had like the territorial days, like Portland wrestling was pretty like really well known. So it's like,
Yeah.
how does it feel for you to now be a part of that new generation that has come after Portland wrestling and it being so prominent, and then now you are a pretty big star in here in the Pacific Northwest. Like, how does that feel?
It's pretty cool. Like the old school Portland wrestling was really before my time. So I've gone back and studied it a little bit, but not as much as I probably should. But I mean, I hear about it all the time from like my old family members or like people who like grew up watching it back then and stuff. So for me, it's really cool. Like this is the city I grew up in. I was born here. So like to represent it not only on a grander scale, but locally as well. It's cool. I think it's really cool that I can say that I have a bit of history in the city that I grew up in.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, do you feel like in a sense, because of the fact that you are able to actually coordinate with anybody who is maybe up and coming or helping them understand the art of professional wrestling, there's almost like a legacy that you're going to be leaving behind. So like, how does it feel to actually know that you can lead people or have that legacy that you can actually look back on and just think about in general?
Um, Honestly, it's something I'm still trying to let sink in. As I
Yeah.
as I kind of bring people along and help them out, but also like there's so many people now that come to me and ask for my opinion on their matches and stuff like at the shows that I'm on. And that blows my mind because in my mind, I'm still the one that's doing that to people that I should be seeking advice from. Um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, to me, it shows my growth from where I first started to now. And also, it's just cool to know that people value my opinion in that sense.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
kind of liken it to Drexel a little bit because Drexel is somebody you look at. He's helped me. He's helped Sonico. He's helped Kid Bandit. He's helping people like the Aces, Amira, all sorts of people around here. He's helping out. And I think when he's done with it all, you're going to be able to look at the scene and see a lot of the people that he's helped out and a lot of people that he's left an impression on. And that's something that I would like to carry forward as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a really interesting question that something I've never asked. So like, how is it that like for you to be able to like work with other people, but like you don't want to like cast a shadow on them, or you don't want them to feel like they're in that shadow. Like you guys are both working together to get whatever story or whatever, whoever over in that match. Like how was that as a pro wrestler?
Um, I I like to think I'm a lot more selfless than others in that regard. Um, some people I know can be really, really in it for themselves and just solely focused on making sure that they look good and getting themselves over or whatever you want to say about it. And to me, like to some degree, you need to carry that attitude a little bit. But I think if you are more focused on contributing to the grander story overall, then everybody's going to look good. Like I'll touch on this a little bit because this is actually something that I had pitched to do. The whole story with Nick Radford over the Pokemon card. Originally, it started as something that I kept joking about with Drexel, whenever he'd ask me if I had ideas. I was like, yes, I want to do a Pokemon card on a pole match. I just think it'd be funny. And at the time, Logan Paul had come out with the Pokemon card at WrestleMania. So I was like, I got to do it before they do it, damn it. I was like, I got to get it off. I got to get it off. So Drexel was like, all right, come up with an idea, come up with a story. Let's see what we can run with this. So I pitched him about 6 months of an angle that we could work with. And knowing Radford a little bit outside of wrestling and knowing he's also very big into Pokemon, I knew this would be something that he could sink his teeth to as well. So for us, it was kind of like, okay, how can we collaborate to get the most eyes on this while also getting something that people are going to be invested in?
Yeah, that's very interesting. So here's a question for you. So what was your reaction to when Drexel kind of announced that this would be his last year wrestling? Like, what was your initial reaction after hearing that news?
Man, it really kind of bums me out because Drexel is one of the people from his generation of Northwest wrestlers that I think is very valuable to have, not only on your card, but just in general at your shows. He's got such a wealth of knowledge and such a creative outlook on the industry as a whole that he's not stuck in the same mindset as a lot of these other guys that are kind of akin to his age in his tenure, if you will, in the sense that he's willing to work with us in our styles and help us mesh what worked back then and what works now. And that's also how he's been able to manage and keep going as long as he has, because he's not somebody that's stuck in the old ways of how wrestling works. He's somebody that has adapted to what we can do within his limitations. And that is only a portion of the reason why I respect Drexel as much as I do. I could go on for hours about Drexel, honestly.
No, it's all good. No, it's all good. That makes a lot of sense. I just like, what was one thing that maybe like he taught you throughout your guys' conversations where it's like it mostly stuck, where you were like, that makes the most perfect sense, and I'm always going to carry that, regardless of if you're in the scene or not?
A lot of it, I think, is it shows in the character work that I portray in my gimmick and everything, because that's the main thing that me and Drexel, like, I pick his brain on. He's very in depth with his character. He's somebody that, like, from the minute he walks through the curtain, he's got that essence that you know that like some shit is about to go down. So for me though, like picking his brain, one of the things he told me is to not to look too much at other wrestlers for inspiration for your character. Like obviously everybody knows, you look at other wrestlers that are doing superhero gimmicks, it's pretty easy to figure out who I modeled myself after. Being Shane Helms, the Hurricane.
Yeah.
But I've also tried really hard to make it my own and try to make it to where I'm not getting compared to him as much. Because I don't mind the comparison at all, and I actually kind of take pride in it a little bit because that's the OG superhero of wrestling, bro. So if people are liking me to him, then to me that's a compliment. But at the same time, I don't want to disrespect him by taking his whole bit. So for me, Drexel told me to not look at other wrestlers as much, but to look at like movies and anime and characters and stuff like that I enjoy and that I can figure out how to take from like little aspects from to add to my character to build the overall character.
Yeah, I know that the last time that we had spoke, you had said that like one thing that he taught you was how to understand what it is to be a superhero. So like what were some things that maybe he told you that made you understand that?
Honestly, like a lot of it was just structuring how to go about certain aspects of my matches and how to really get the most out of it. Because like a lot of people will go out there and they'll focus on the moves of wrestling, and that's fine. There are some wrestlers who I think they don't really need the character. They have the ability, the athletic ability to go in there and just be a force with what they do in the ring. That's not me though. Especially look at the other high flyers in the world right now. You got the Martin brothers, you got Will Ospreay, you got Ricochet. There's so many people that can do what I do 10 times better, 100 times better, right? So how am I going to make myself stand out? Well, I'm going to add a little bit more of this character into it. I'm going to give it a little more personality. Um, a lot of people have asked me, or like they've given me the advice of not doing the superhero landing in matches and stuff like that, because you see Ricochet, Ospreay, guys like that, they bust it out rather often. And while what they do is very superhero like, they don't have the full character essence behind it to fully get that reaction. So to me, that's something there is having that emotional investment behind what you're doing. It's not just going out there and doing it, it's why you're doing it. It's what is the purpose of doing it.
Yeah. Interesting. So it's like, how is that like as a professional wrestler and interacting with all these other wrestlers and being or understanding maybe their purpose and why they want to do it or what they want to do, and then maybe having to coordinate with them on exactly like what you want to do or what you're comfortable with. Like that has to be really, really like almost like a chess game, you know?
Kinda. It depends, because some people you find, like I find I get in there with, and as we're kind of figuring things out, I'm like, oh, dude, this guy's like, we're on the same page. Like our ideas are meshing really well. We're kind of both seeing what we're flowing with here. And some others, like it's the complete opposite, and we're almost not like fighting, but we're definitely lobbying hard for our vision of what the match should be. And that's where it kind of, some people become selfish, some people become selfless. And that's life. Like the way I look at it, I'm like, all right, well, if they're not really compromising, then I'm just going to see what they want to do and try to figure out how I can best work what I want to do into that.
Yeah. Well, here's another question that I had for you. I saw on Twitter the other day that Lince Dorado actually responded to you because you had put out that tweet about who you wanted to face in 2024, and he said that he almost like took offense to you
Man,
not putting him on the list. So.
I'm telling you, this happens at least once a year when I make these lists. I gotta stop doing them. I gotta stop doing them, bro. But so I really felt bad too, because Lince I actually had on my 2023 list, and it didn't work out. And when I made my 2024 list, I probably should have just copied the ones that didn't happen in 2023 and added on. But I think he was just playing though. Me and him have a little bit of a bond, so I think he's just messing around. But I would definitely entertain that match, man. And if he's down to work with me, I'm totally down to make that happen somewhere.
That is so awesome. Yeah, like as soon as I saw that, I was like, wow, that's like crazy, especially him being like in WWE and whatnot. Like that has to be crazy to have somebody reach out to you from that caliber. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, no, 100%. And it really, it's always cool to me, and it's kind of a reminder for me of like that maybe I should believe in my abilities a little more sometimes. I am very much, I think I said this last time I was on too, but I am very much the person that is either thinks they're the best wrestler in the world or they think they should retire, because there's no in between for me. Even if I have a slightly off performance, I feel like it was the worst performance of my life and I need to reevaluate everything I've ever done. But to have people like that, like Lince, say actively that like they want to wrestle me and they want to do something with me, it's always cool, and it kind of blows my mind a little bit.
Yeah, that's crazy. So like how does it feel like winning like the wrestler of the year and most popular, and then having the match of the year go to you? Like how does that feel?
Feud of the year, the Aces and the Hammers got match of the year. I got you though. I got you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Honestly, especially with DOA. DOA is a very special place because our venue is actually the venue that I trained in when I was like 14, 15. Very early on into my career. I spent a lot of years there wrestling there. So anything I get to do under the DOA banner is already like 10 times more sentimental to me. But to get Wrestler of the Year, to get Most Popular, honestly, I'm going to touch on this too. Most Popular, I thought was going to Amira. I'm not going to lie. I had a pretty good 2023, but Amira had a phenomenal 2023. And the way the crowd reacts to her at DOA, man, I thought she had that one in the bag. So I don't know how I stole it, but I'm sorry. But no, like it's always good to have your work recognized by the fan base. That's something I worry about. I always worry if people are seeing what I'm doing, whether it be the vlogs or my promos or my matches or anything really that I'm putting out. So it's for me to be recognized like that, because I truly believe I did put in a lot of work at DOA specifically last year, mainly because that's what I consider my home promotion. That's the hub for me, if you will. And DOA really gave me the reins to kind of tell stories creatively and really explore the depths of my character beyond just being a superhero. So to have that all recognized throughout those 3 awards is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I know the last time that we had talked, we were sitting there kind of talking about the Shadow Jaden character. And one thing I wanted to ask you is like, how is it like implementing not a new character, but a darker character to what you want to do? And so it's like how was it actually being able to step out of the curtain and this is now what I want to do?
This is what I had to. It's something I worked extensively with Drexel on. Um, Not only because his character is like that, but also just because, again, he is somebody that is very masterful with storytelling and getting those points across. So for me, like portraying something darker is not something I'm necessarily comfortable with. Not in the sense that it makes me uncomfortable, but just like that's not who I am. So it's and you can argue that I'm not a superhero either, but it's a little easier for me to step in that role because it's something a little more my energy.
Yeah.
So portraying that like the Shadow Jaden character, it was a bit out of the norm for me. I had to kind of figure out the awkward phase of like how much is too much. Am I coming off like too edgy? Because if I come off too edgy, then I become cringe, and I don't want to be cringe. I want it to be. I want people to look at it as a solid body of work, which I felt people did for the most part. Me personally, I felt it was cringe at times. So, but that's okay. Like people enjoyed it. I also enjoyed it. I think Drexel really guided the story with it in a good direction as well. I kind of wish I got to do a little bit more with the Shadow Jaden side of things, but maybe that's something to explore this year.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's the
that
that's the
is
good thing about wrestling.
yeah. I apologize.
Oh no,
I
you're
was
no
just
problem.
gonna I was just gonna ask. So is this gonna be something that you will almost keep for like special occasions, almost like Finn Balor and his
Yeah,
demon character, where it's like you will
that
only
is
bring it out and like have it be a surprise.
that was the base idea for it when I initially started coming up with it. Um,
Mhm.
for me, it was something that I could use in stories where like I needed that extra edge and I needed something more to like kind of just to tap into a more serious side of myself. Because I'm pretty campy when I'm out there as just the regular Jaden superhero. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the kind of vibe that I present out there. The music has got me feeling myself. I'm dancing, skipping to the ring, having a good time. So by the time I get out there, dude, I'm ready to party. I'm ready to rock. So having something else that I can tap into when it's like, all right, now I need to crank it up a notch. That to me, it helps more with the storytelling side of things than the actual wrestling side of things.
Yeah. Yeah, because I could definitely see like whenever you do actually like pull out that character, a lot of people are going to react almost just like the demon whenever he comes out, because it's like it's so compelling to see somebody like hold something in for it to be meant for a big storyline. So I just think that that's just genius.
Heck yeah. And it would be cool. Like, I'm trying to experiment more with like the look of Shadow Jaiden and really kind of hone in on something that, like, as soon as I step through the curtain, you're gonna recognize that, like, oh, this is a different vibe. This isn't the regular Jaiden. So I gotta toy with it some more going into this year and really kind of figure out what that element would be. But once I figure it out, I think it'll help complete the pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, I know when I was talking with Stevie, she was sitting there telling me that like you had to kind of like go to her just to like coordinate, you know, how exactly you want your entrance to be said as. And so it's like how is that kind of like coordinating with those people and being like, I want my name to be called as this as I'm making my entrance, and kind of just coordinating with them.
On our level, it's really easy, especially because you got people that, like, the ring announcers are much more open to helping you out and doing what you need to do, like, as far as getting your character over. And that was actually something J Rose out in Indiana kind of opened my mind to at first, because before I kind of just was like, you know, I'm from Portland. Nickname is the Unbelievable Jaiden, blah blah blah. And I didn't really take too much thought into the actual production of being announced. You know what I mean? So J Rose, he kind of opened my mind to that style of like, oh well, like, you know, do you have an extra moniker? Do you have something catchy you want me to say? And he was actually the one who came up with from the Rose City where he's the savior. Because I had pitched to just be called from, you know, I just wanted to be announced from Portland, Oregon, as the Rose City savior, Jaiden the Unbelievable. And for him, it was a way to kind of shorten all of that up while still getting everything in there. And I was like, you know what, though? That I like that. That we need to stick with that. We need to run with that. So being able to just go up to the announcers, or most of the time they'll come up to us with their notes and ask, like, hey, is there anything certain you need me to say? Blah, blah, blah. Stuff like that. So it's pretty easy.
Yeah. Interesting. So, one thing I wanted to talk with you about is you actually like jumping off of a balcony, and that was actually at Roseland 6. And is that correct?
Yes. I think 6.
Okay.
No. I think the balcony was 5.
Okay.
The 6.
My apology.
No, you're good. The Roselands are always confusing to me because there was one that was double. That was 2 nights, and there was one that I wrestled twice. So I'm like, they all kind of blend together. But I believe it was Roseland 5, because I think Roseland 6 was me and Bandit versus Randy and Drexel and Ethan and Brady. But yes, Roseland 5 was the one I dove off the balcony, Spanish fly style.
Yeah. So can you kind of like walk us through that event and maybe what was going like through your mind? Because I think it was actually the day after me and you had our first interview was the day that you actually went and did that. And one thing that I brought up during our first interview was you kind of going through the air, and you said that you just kind of just do it, and then the next day, boom, you're jumping off the balcony.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the vibe. Not like when I was approached with the idea, you know, like they had asked if I was comfortable with it. And I was like, I mean, honestly, there's enough people there where I feel safe. Like, I'm not gonna split my head open on the floor or nothing. But man, like it's a different ball game when you're up there and you see the space between everybody's body, and you're like, oh damn, they might not catch me, dude. It's crazy because, like, oh, dude, I don't even really know how to describe it, man. At that point, I'm just so far gone into the into the character and into the vibes of the match that you just kind of send it.
Yeah. I noticed it was like you were like holding on to somebody else, and then you guys both flipped. So like, how does it feel to like be going into a sequence and know that no matter what, both of you guys are in it, and you guys are just trying to deliver that?
That's almost kind of thinking with just matches in general, you know, is you really have to commit. Because I find when you don't commit to it, that's when you really get hurt and injuries are more likely to happen. So if you're gonna do something and you're in that moment, you either have to think of an alternative to do it safely or just send it.
Interesting. So here's another question. So like whenever you like look back at all of your footage, I know I had kind of brought this up with Spencer Scott, but like, do you ever like look back on your footage and kind of like critique yourself in a
All the
way,
time.
and then sit there,
All the time.
and then yeah, and sit there and like kind of just notice things that you could kind of work on, and it's like, does that like, is it like very very beneficial for you to like going into the next match to like
I
look
say
back
so.
and then
Yeah.
yeah.
I find like if I have the ability to do so, I will watch the match right after it happened. I am not kidding. There has been times where I've either set my phone up to record it so I have footage myself to review, or if we're live, I will set my phone up to screen record the stream. That way I can instantly go back and watch it. So I don't have to wait and I can instantly get into, all right, what did I do good? What did I do wrong? And this kind of goes back into what I was saying earlier about like, I either feel like I'm the best in the world or I feel like I'm absolutely the worst. And I feel like there's a huge part of that because I don't really, I do allow myself the time and like the effort to appreciate what I've done and like what I do. But I'm also always looking at my performance through a critical lens every single time.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know how it would be, especially like being a professional wrestler, to actually have so much footage to actually look back and see how you have progressed. Like that has to be crazy to be able to actually like look back on.
It's kind of wild. Like I have not every match in my career, but a good majority of them where you can get a good timeline from the very beginning, from my first match onward. If you're able to find it's kind of different. You got to look under different names, different accounts, and stuff like that. But a lot of it is out there, so it's kind of cool for me because I can go back and watch things like from a few years ago or whatever, and I'm like, I don't move the same anymore, but I do this differently now, or like I don't even think about doing that anymore. And it's wild to see how different my moveset is, how different my character is, and just my overall performance throughout the years.
Yeah. That is so crazy. So it's like, how is it like for you, like working with up and coming talent and kind of being able to shed light for them and being like, hey, like you should do this, you should, like how is it working with those people?
It varies. Again, like some people are very receptive to what I have to say, and
Mhm.
I feel some others don't really apply it when I tell them, which is fine. I mean, it's kind of a thing in wrestling. Like if there's some people that give you advice you might not like think is your cup of tea, you at least hear them out.
Yeah.
It's the respectful thing to do. Um, but the ones that do listen and the ones that actually care and actually like genuinely seek my opinions and critique, I try to give them the best opinions and the best critique that I can, especially stuff that like if I can get them to learn things that like I didn't know at their stage in their careers, then I think that's great because then they can advance faster, in my opinion. And that's always the goal for me is to make sure that these kids can kind of not necessarily catch up to speed. I don't think a lot of them need to catch up to speed per se, but just to make sure that they know that like, hey, this is an option for you to do, or like maybe if you do this differently, it'll help you get the most out of what you're able to get.
Yeah. Yeah, I have another really really interesting question for you. So like what would you say about those wrestlers that are almost overly critical of themselves instead of being, content with what they're doing or how they're doing everything? It's almost like they look at themselves like I'm not doing enough, but you have to have that confidence, otherwise the fans aren't going to have the confidence in you in the same light, you know?
And that's where it gets tricky, man, because imposter syndrome and wrestling go hand in hand.
Mhm.
And I am definitely one that is of that mindset. I am very picky about what I do. I am very much critical of my performances. Um, but honestly, like I know there's others that are more critical than I am, which is kind of shocking to me because I think I'm very critical at times. But you have
Mhm.
to find the balance. and it be if that's through other people telling you or just giving yourself the props. Like you have to find that balance and make sure that you know that like what you're doing is good at the very least. That you if you're not, like you said, if you're not confident in your abilities, then why are the fans they're gonna see right through your performance? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to kind of like see that, especially when you start to get into pro wrestling about like these people can connect with this, but it's like how is it as a performer, and maybe if something isn't getting over, if it isn't registering with the crowd, having to negate that and kind of create something new. Like how is that as a performer to test things and see if it'll actually get over?
It's so tricky because you're wrestling in different markets, you're wrestling in front of different crowds. They're gonna like different things wherever you go. So some you kind of have to play it by ear, like depending on the situation, depending on your opponent, depending on where you're at, because something may not get over in this promotion or in front of this fan base, but if you go do it here and it gets a good reaction, then it's like, well, what do I do? You know. So
Yeah.
for me, I kind of try to pay attention to what the crowd is doing, like going along with, while I'm wrestling as well. I'm definitely somebody who kind of knows going in kind of the majority of what I would like to happen, but I'm also open to like we can call whatever we want in the back and all that stuff. But like when we get out there, who knows what's gonna happen? Truly, who knows? Because things may get glanced over, things may get forgotten, or just sometimes you're feeling the vibe of the crowd and it takes you in a different direction. So you have to, as a wrestler, you have to be able to say, okay, this isn't going according to plan. How do I course correct to get the desired reaction at this point?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it would be definitely like I guess kind of a complicated dealing with like different wrestlers and what they want to achieve and everything. Um, I had another question that I wanted to ask you. So like, where were you and what were you doing when you heard the news of Bray Wyatt passing away?
Oh man, I wish I remembered. I think I was just chilling at home. And I saw it on Twitter. And honestly, it like I've never met Bray Wyatt. I never met the man behind Bray Wyatt or anything like that. But just to have a performer that I kind of watched in my lifetime develop on screen and develop as a human, not only as a wrestler, but the man was a father, you know, the man was a husband and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
knowing that, especially knowing I had my own kid at home and just how much that man cared about his performance and what he was giving to the audience. It hit me a lot harder than I expected, actually. Um, and I really do send my condolences to his family and everything like that because I couldn't imagine my family being in that position, like having to leave my daughter behind and stuff like that. So it it's something that like it definitely weighed heavy on me, but I also tried to focus on the legacy and the memory that he left behind as a performer and as a wrestler, and especially like as a character, man, because I know the Fiend is kind of people are 50-50 on it, but for me, I was 100% on board with that. I was all the way invested in that, man. I from the very first Firefly Funhouse, I was like, what are they cooking, man? And let me tell you, dude, when they that first SummerSlam, like I'm getting chills just talking about it now. But that the whole presentation of the character is honestly a lot of something that I tried to model in my character. And how do I make my character unique, not just in what I do in the ring, but in the overall presentation, promos, moveset, entrance, the whole package? How can I replicate that kind of aura and make it my own?
yeah. That's crazy. I know that there was this one promo that I wanted to bring up with you. You were at, I believe it was PAL Pro Wrestling, but you were like hanging like upside down on the ropes as Stevie was sitting there trying to interview
Yes.
you. So it's like, what made you want to do that?
So POW is fun because POW they have us do promos pre-show every show. Um, So it's really given me a chance to kind of explore how my character would act in these certain situations. And I think I did one. I don't remember where it was, but I did one where I was kind of perched up in my pose on the corner. And I was like, that was cool, but how can I do this differently? And how can I just have fun with it? And I think the first time I did it was with the Aces. Like they were also cutting a promo in the same promo as me. And I was just like, all right, I'm gonna start it hanging upside down, like we're just vibing, chilling out before the ring, you know? And it kind of stuck. Like Izzy, the one who films the promos for us at PAL, she really liked it and thought it was really cool. And I think it makes sense for my character because I'm just, I'm kind of nonchalant in real life anyway. So to me, it translated. It translated really good.
Yeah. So here's a interesting question that I was just thinking about. So you know how the last time that we were talking, like you had kind of brought up that like there are certain aspects of your personality that will translate with your character. But
Yes,
like, do you feel like as you grow as a person, as you grow up, that like your personality will change, and then that will change how you portray yourself in the ring?
absolutely. I think my evolution as a person beyond wrestling also goes hand in hand with my evolution as a wrestler. As I learn things in my personal life, I try to apply them in wrestling and vice versa. If I learn something in wrestling that I think I can apply to my everyday life, I'm gonna do it. Um,
Hmm.
but I think, yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. To me they go hand in hand a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you about this quote that I actually got from you, and I think you had tweeted it the other day.
Okay.
But you said, and I quote, like, "You're going to make a difference. A lot of times it won't be huge. It won't even be visible, even, but it will matter just the same." End quote. So it's
Yes,
like,
sir.
what did you mean by that when you actually tweeted that out?
So for me, that was a quote I believe from Batman, not the hero directly. I don't remember who said it in what, but I know it was from Batman because I obviously like to use superhero quotes when I post things on social media. Um, but for me, that is kind of a reflection of the work I've put in and kind of my position in the Pacific Northwest now. Um, as like before the pandemic, I was still trying to figure out what I'm doing. I'm still trying to evolve, and like that's always the mission as a wrestler. You're always trying to figure out what you're doing. You're always trying to figure out how to evolve. But for me, it's taking on the fact that there are now fans and wrestlers alike that look up to me, and me essentially needing to be comfortable being in that position.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, at what point was it that like you kind of had to realize about that comfortability or having to get comfortable with that?
Honestly, like just being around the aces and like being around people like Amira who ask for my opinion on things like pertaining to their performances and stuff like that. Knowing that people are seeking my advice. It just for me it means I have to go even harder so I can give these people advice that is actually applicable. you know, because I can't just
Mhm.
say random stuff and hope that it works out for them. I have to know from my experiences. I have to know from other people's experiences that they've shared with me as well. Um, so for me to be in that position and to have people that come to me for those kinds of things, it makes me need to sharpen my game just as much as they're trying to sharpen theirs.
Yeah. Yeah, well, one thing I definitely wanted to ask you about is I know when I was initially talking with Drexel, he had said that no matter where you go, you're loved everywhere. Like no matter what show you're on, for some reason you're just loved everywhere. And so it's like, how does that feel as a performer to just know that people can just gravitate to you for whatever reason, but they just
Um,
do. Like, how does that feel?
I think a lot of it is just how I carry myself beyond wrestling. And again, it kind of goes back into what we were just talking about how like my growth and evolution can, vary into the wrestling world. Um, for me, I think I just try to go out there, and I try to connect the same way that wrestling connected with me as a kid. You know what I mean? I try to give people 110% of me every time I'm out there. And if they come away with it remembering something that I did or inspired by something that I did, then I count it as a win in my book. Because at the end of the day, man, like I was the kid that like didn't really felt like he belonged anywhere, you know. And then I found wrestling, and wrestling kind of showed me that like if as long as you're willing to put in the work and create an avenue for yourself, then you have somewhere that you belong. And I try to carry that message with me in every match that I have, whether it's subliminal or if it's directly in your face with what I'm performing. But that's kind of the message I try to carry every time I'm in the ring. Especially for the kids, man. Because like that's it's cool to have the support of adults and everything like that. But for me, man, like I remember when I was a kid and how impactful wrestling was on my life. And for me, if I can be that person to somebody else, then I think that is I don't really know what I think that is. I was gonna say I think it'd be me passing down my legacy in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I know one thing I wanted to ask you about is exactly what you just said about you being able to be a person in which a little kid can look up to. And you don't ever really know exactly what that little kid is going through,
One hundred
but like
percent.
how does it yeah, like how does it feel as a performer or for yourself personally to know that you can bring that kid out of that just out of that state and that you make them so happy just to be able to see you perform. Like, how does that feel? Like, that has to be
Um,
insane.
I mean, like for me, dude, that's what it's all about at the end of the day, man. Like
Mhm.
obviously I have my own goals and ambitions with wrestling, but like for me, that knowing that that is something I can achieve with my performances, that's what it's all about for me. Especially because like I have a kid at home. You know, I have my 2 year old, and I like to think about like how people would treat her if she was the kid coming to the shows, and what kind of
Mhm.
impact they would leave for her. So that's kind of the connection I have with people that bring their kids to the shows. You know, um, and in a lot of ways, I feel like it's me doing a service to the world that's not necessarily the kindest to children. You know, um, and that's kind of another story for another time. But to be able to be somebody that these kids can come up to, because personally, like in my personal life, I don't really see myself as a role model. But when I put on the mask and I put on the super suit, man, these kids legitimately believe that I'm a superhero, and to me, it's important to keep that upheld as much as I can for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, what was like one of the one interactions in which maybe you had with a little kid fan or whatever that really just struck a chord with you?
Man, there's so many. um, a lot of them, like a lot of their parents will come up to me at the shows and just tell me like, "Oh, dude, like you should see him at the house. They're running around doing the superhero pose off the couch and stuff like that." And to me, that's cool because again, man, like that was me with Jeff Hardy doing swantons off my couch and shit. uh, but so to be able to have that connection with them and to see that it's resonating with them and it's something that they enjoy, not only the kids themselves, but their parents. Like I can see their parents light up when they're telling me these stories about their kids. And that's the same thing for me that I feel with my kids. So if to me, being able to have their parents see that they're enjoying it and they themselves get joy out of that, it gives me joy as well.
That is really, really cool.
Yeah.
So, here's another question. So, if you could actually make up any match rules or anything as a superhero gimmick, what would your match
Ooh,
be
man, I don't know. That's tough.
like?
I feel like it's tough because like I kind of feel like the matches I already have are kind of that, you know. Um, I get you don't really need like special rules to be a hero, man. You just have to have the heart to be fighting and to really push through any obstacle that's in your way. And I think as long as you have that, then anybody can really be a hero, you know?
Yeah, interesting. All right. Well, before we actually end up closing everything out, I just want to ask you, like, what can we expect from the future when it comes to Jaiden?
Man, I'm not sure, man. I'm really not. I'm kind of going with the flow, seeing where the wind takes me. I have goals. I
Yeah.
have ambitions. But I'm just kind of vibing right now. One thing I can say for sure is I'm looking to travel more this year. I spent last year at home the entire year. I didn't leave anywhere but Oregon and Washington wrestling. It was just
Mhm.
cool because I was able to get on PWI and stuff like that just off of my home base of work. But I don't want to just be the best in the Pacific Northwest. I'm not content with only sticking around here for another 10 years. I want to go out and I want to go down as one of the best wrestlers to ever do it. And that means I need to get out there. I need to be wrestling some of the best guys out there. I need to be in the ring, tearing it up with guys like Leo Rush again. I need to be in there with guys like Myron Reed again. Because anybody can go out there and say that they want to be the best. But if you're not acting on it and you're not going out there every night and showing that in the ring with your actions, then your words mean nothing. So for me, my goal is to get out there and just show that, like, I'm Jaiden, bro. I'm going to do this one way or another.
Oh, that is really, really awesome. Well, I just want to thank you very, very much for actually joining me here tonight. Like, it has been amazing to just sit down with you and just talk some stuff about.
Of course, man. And thank you for having me, dude. It's always a pleasure to be on here.
All right, man. Well, I hope you have a very, very good night, and I cannot wait to see you when you actually return to Independence.
Heck yeah, man. I'll see you there, boss. Thank you.
All right, bye. Well, all right, you guys. So that was Interesting's podcast interview with Jaiden. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And stay tuned because not only like we have some big news coming for February when it comes to Interesting Podcast. So make sure you guys go and follow me on social media and I hope you all have a very, very good night. I'll catch you guys later.